Bath is the crown jewel of the cities of England, as Venice is of Italy's. Yet it's becoming more and more difficult to fit the high-pressure age of the petrol engine and the supermarket into a place designed for the sedan, chair, and a life of elegance. So Bath appointed a specialist team to prepare a plan, a team which had already distinguished itself by a world-famous study of traffic in towns. One of this team is Anne McEwen, an architect and planner.
Traffic could ruin Bath, but remove all the traffic, and Bath would be ruined in another way. Who would want to live in a city where you couldn't use vehicles? We were asked to find an answer to Bath's traffic problems, how to make things better for the motorist, and how to prevent vehicles destroying the very things that make cities such marvellous places to live in.
We tackled problems like congestion at rush hours, inadequate streets making it hard to deliver goods or park the car, busy trunk roads taking heavy traffic right through the most beautiful parts. It's dangerous. The noise is deafening. Vibration shakes buildings to pieces.
Everywhere, parked vehicles obstruct fine views and hinder people on foot. Imagine how much better all this would be without the cars in the way.
This conflict between traffic and cities is universal. Look at Norwich, the most important town of East Anglia. Just like Bath, it's used by a far greater population than its own. Norwich serves farmers and communities for miles around and supports a huge variety of industries, from insurance to making electric motors. It's a pleasant city, friendly, homespun, a complete cross-section of England's history from the Normans onwards, full of quaint corners and unexpected discoveries. But unless something's done about it, and thank goodness Norwich is fighting back, cities are threatened with death by traffic, a kind of remorseless erosion. The centre gets crammed. People can't get about easily. There's nowhere convenient to leave their cars when they come to shop, so eventually they move out to surrounding areas. Then the shops move out to follow their customers, and the devaluation of the centre continues. New uses are made of what used to be living areas. The city begins to have no proper life after working hours. Fringe districts get slummy. Only the poor and old are left. But the architects and planners of Norwich are tackling this whole problem with tremendous vigour by revitalising dwellings that are still basically sound. They are rescuing medieval houses from slumdom, turning them into pleasant homes, and thus retaining buildings that give Norwich its special character. A whole new area has been completely redeveloped, reuniting people who used to live here, old-age pensioners, young couples, families with children, into a community only 15 minutes' walk from the cathedral. All this to bring the people of Norwich back to live once again in the centre of their own city. It is planned that one day the whole shopping centre of Norwich will be freed of traffic that has no business there. This will circulate by means of a new road system now under construction. To make all this possible, car parks are being built at strategic points. Most of this part of the city is composed of narrow, twisting streets laid out for horses and wagons in the Middle Ages. One by one, these streets will become pedestrian precincts. A start has been made with London Street, recently part of a main route across the city. When you abandon the tradition of 500 years in one apparent fell swoop, people will talk about it.
Well, I think they should have provided an alternative route for traffic before closing London Street.
Well, you see, some of the shopkeepers were afraid that if you wouldn't let people drive their cars right up to the shops, they wouldn't come into London Street at all.
Oh, it's much more pleasanter now than it used to be. It's going to be much more opportunity to do your shopping in comfort. There's no traffic about sort of worrying you all the time.
People can now meander through the street instead of rushing and walking through the street. It slows them down. They can assimilate the shops, and it has increased business immensely. Don't you think so, Brian?
I would say approximately 40%.
The shopkeepers were worried about getting their goods into the shop and again out to their customers. but the council bore this in mind by providing access points at both top and bottom of the street.
Well, another thing Norwich people were worried about was what was going to happen to the traffic if we stopped it from coming through London Street. Wouldn't it just pile up a bigger jam somewhere else?
Well, basically it's been siphoned off into the one-way circuit which runs parallel. Much better for everybody concerned, really. The street is not really suitable for heavy traffic these days.
Well, as far as the lower Goat Lane is concerned, pedestrians completely take their life in their own hands. The pavement outside my shop is only 15 inches, and it's dangerous. Our Traders Association have applied for this to be made into a shopping precinct, and I think this is going to take place, and this will be of extreme benefit both to pedestrians and the shopkeepers.
In Bath, some of the streets have been all pedestrian for 200 years or so. Now part of the main shopping centre has been closed to vehicles and linked up with the long-established precinct by the Abbey, the Pump Room and the Roman Baths, the city's historic heart.
So this all shows what nonsense it is to think that traffic must be allowed into every street, or else trade will collapse. It simply isn't true. We are convinced that traffic could be managed so that even more streets are freed once the proposed car parks are built. But these measures can't provide Bath with the long-term answers it really needs. We were looking ahead 30 years, when thousands and thousands more people will be owning cars.
By the year 2000, national motorways will have taken away part of the through traffic, but the city's own traffic would still remain. For Bath is a shopping, tourist and commercial centre, as well as a university city. And what about the Georgian buildings, the river and weir? The terraces on the steep hillsides, the wooded green hills. These all combine to give Bath its character and to create difficulties. Bath must have some new roads, but where, what kind, what is acceptable? A road in a tunnel under the hillside would take traffic through the city, get it to the centre, and still leave the beauty of Bath untouched. The tunnel entrances and interchanges would come in areas that are to be rebuilt anyway, so they would not interfere with the Georgian streets. Shoppers would park here at the edge of the central area. Goods vehicles would be allowed further in to service buildings, but only at certain hours. But if the centre is to be freed for people on foot, we must weave one new traffic road through it. We can slip this below ground level with the loss of only 2 good buildings, both of which could be rebuilt. None of this is pie in the sky. The car parks are already underway, and the tunnel tests have begun.
But even if all this were done, it would still not be possible for everyone who wants to use a car in Bath to do so in 20 or 30 years' time. Some restrictions would be unavoidable, but Bath would be saved and safe.
Here's the famous Pulteney Bridge, just as it always was, but with a new restaurant built over the sluice gate on the weir. This will be linked with an exciting multi-sports area, 3 indoor swimming pools and plenty of space for other activities. A whole part of Bath newly rethought to bring pleasure and recreation right into the heart of the city. All cities need to examine the quality of life they offer. After all, everything we mean by civilization springs from cities. The opportunity to share pleasures, the freedom to be quiet and think. That's what we have to recreate and protect. Whatever plans are made, whether for traffic or rebuilding, we must be sure that they really are going to make our cities not just settlements where people merely exist amid a whirl of traffic, but places to enjoy and to live in fully.